Okay, so now that we know the framework, let's take a look at the elements. So I didn't save the previous one, so I'm gonna edit the page and let's take a look at the most common elements that we will find over here. So the most common will be this type of element, which will be the headlines. So I'm gonna skip this first one. I'm gonna go through those ones on another video when we introduce the advanced elements. It's still gonna be in this quick and go section, but over here I'm just gonna go through some other elements. One that I don't want to talk about this one right now is because these elements are only on certain pages that I will explain later on. So the elements that you will find over here will be headlines, subheadlines, paragraphs, and bullet lists. All of these four are related to the different type of texts. Now, actually these three are almost the same, and let me show you. So I can come over here and this one looks like it's a headline for sure. So I can click over here, add new element, and let's add a headline. So that's a headline. Let's add a subheadline, and let's add a paragraph. All these three are three different type of texts. Now, if you're planning to have a headline, you don't necessarily have to call it here a headline element. And let me show you why. Over here, and here's how I'm gonna explain also the different abilities that you have for each element. So over here it was a sub-headline, right? So if you just go over there, like I said, just click here, select everything, I can have some formatting over here. So I can make this one bold, italics or not, highlight or not, cross, not, center, right, left, or hyperlink. Hyperlink I will explain a little bit later on. So now I have this one on bold. But how do I make this one bigger or smaller, right? So that's why you have this setting. So you click here in the settings, and here you will have more options. So for example, one of the options is to increase the font size. So look at this. Perfect, right? So now, remember the first one was a headline and the second one was a subheadline, and now both of them look the same in terms of format. So that's what I'm saying. Basically, it doesn't matter too much if you select a headline. If you say, oh, I didn't want a headline, I just wanted a subheadline, or later on I just want text, don't worry about it. You don't have to delete it or anything. Just adjust the size. That's basically, a headline is just a bigger, more impactful type of font. And you can do it over here. You can adjust the size. You can even make it bigger or smaller, right? The other thing that I want to introduce over here is the margin. So I'm kind of gonna go almost one by one on the ones that are most relevant that you're probably gonna be using. So you'll see over here the space between the large call headline and the small call action headline. You can regulate that space by the top margin. You can say, hey, I want more space, or I want less space. Now, someone will say, hey, what happens if for some reason you want more than 100, right? For whatever reason, even though it looks right now terrible, let's say you want something more than 100. You can just put it here. Let's say I want 200. Or I want 250. Now, if you see it over there, it always gives you a limitation. Even though you say, hey, I want 250 or I want 1,000. Well, now you see 1,000 now makes sense here. So what I do over here is put 100. Because after you get out from the 100 line, it behaves a little bit weird. What I usually do if I need more space, and there are multiple ways to do it. One of the things that you could do, you can add another section here, let's say a headline or anything. Just come over here, delete it. So it's now an empty headline. Sorry. Let's create it again. I deleted everything, so that's why there's nothing there again. So you come over here, I did it too fast. Come headline, come over here, delete it and type a space. So if you see over there, there's one space. Space you cannot see it, but still you have here. And let's say you want more space, right? More, so you can put the margin, and now you see, now you can have more margins there, right? Now, I don't see it in many places you're gonna have something like that because by itself it looks terrible when you're gonna have a lot of space. But if you need it, that's one of the things that I realize people sometimes struggle is like, hey, what happens if I need more, right? Now, what happens if you need the opposite, right? You say, hey, I'm coming over here, moving everything to 0, but I still feel that there's too much of a gap, right? It's like, hey, there's still too much gap there. I want to reduce it. Well, you can go negative over here. You can say minus 20. You see how it moves? Minus 50. And actually, the minus works way better if you go over 100. You can control it way better. So let's say, for example, you want that close, right? So you put minus 30, and here, there we go. That's how close we are. The other way to come to the settings, remember I told you over here in the blue one, you can also come over here to the orange one and click here on settings. Either one works. And over here, I already talked about the top margin. Let's talk about the font family. That's basically the different type of fonts that you may have. So you can browse over here by the font name. I have no idea what these font names are. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna click browse all the fonts, and over here even gives me a quick sample on how the font will look like. So if I want a font very similar to this one, I say, hey, I want this Robo type of font. And that's it. Now let's take a look at the next one. The next one is the text color. You see? Now over here, here's the interesting part. Let me show you here. You have this one in black, right? And it's not bold. But then when you bold it, it becomes blue. Let me show you. Then now we bold it, and now it's blue. So how you create that effect where you want to highlight some keywords to attract on your headline? Very easy. You just come over here. You see you have your regular text color. That's kind of this dark gray. But when you make it bold, it will be this blue. You can change. Just click it here. You have over here some quick colors. Let's say I want it red, right? What about if you want the text color to actually be black, right? So I don't know if this one is black, but I can come over here and I can adjust it, right? I know that the bottom is black, so I can select that one, and now it's all black. So that's basically those two colors. Now let's come over here to this one, and let's go and explain what's the background color. And actually the best thing for you to do, and I want you to do these things, because even though I'm gonna go one by one, it's not gonna make too much sense until you start playing around. And remember, you're not gonna break anything. If you break anything, you should talk with someone, because that means that this software is not done correctly. I've been poking around everything. That's how I learn. I try things and nothing has broken. And if you break something, just delete the funnel and create it again. You are now in a learning process on how the different elements works on a funnel. So just poke around here. It's like, hey, what the background color means. Does it change the background? How it look like? So the only thing I'm gonna do is over here is the transparency. So you can select any color, but if it's totally transparent, it's basically, okay, you don't have a background. Or you can do semi-transparent or full color, as you can see it over here, right? Now that I changed the color, now I know exactly what the background color is, right? And it's self-explanatory too, is the background color. So let's change that one, and let's say, hey, I want a background color like that, right? And here, I want the text color to be blue, for example. Now you see over here that the text color is blue, but the bold color is black or gray. But over here, everything went on blue, even though it was bolded. That's because, let me remove the bold line. Let me add the bold line. So you see, it's not creating the same effect as over here. The reason why that's happening, and now you see here it changed, is because I never touched the bold color. The bold color was somewhere around that area. So you see, if I change it right now, so this one, you have to play a little bit. It's a little bit hard to explain. But basically, if you touch it, it gets activated. So now you see the bold color is now activated. And now if I want to go to the blue one, now I have to remove the bold. But if I didn't touch the bold color and let it be whatever color it was, basically what the system is taking is like, hey, what's the color on the text that you just recently changed? So I'm not gonna go too much in detail. Definitely you can test that and see how it goes. Icon color. Well, right now I can change that color to anything. It's not gonna happen anything because we need to have an icon. And you may be wondering, okay, what's exactly an icon? So it's kind of weird because over here you have the color, but you don't have a way to introduce an icon. So you have to go to advanced settings, and in advanced settings there's going to be this icon picker. So you can select, and these are the icons. Probably you've seen in many different websites where you have a small button or a small icon of something. Hey, we accept credit cards here. So let's say, for example, over here we want, I don't know, this icon there. Now the icon is always gonna be over here to the left side at the beginning. You cannot change where the icon will be displayed unless from a really easy properties type of scenario. You can change it using CSS, sorry, but I'm not gonna go in deeper how to do all those things. So you can do all these things, and that's when you select, hey, what's the color of the icon? And that's when you say, hey, I wanted the icon to be red, for example. And then the border color, you see that right now the border color have some color, but you see there's no border. And even though if I change it, let's say to red or whatever thing, it's not going to change. Because it's very similar to the icon, you have to have first a border. How you create a border, you go here to advanced. And here's where you find border, where it is, borders. Yeah, sometimes a little bit hard because every single element will have a different organization here. So here's the border. You can select, hey, I want full border. That means basically a border across everything. Or you just want the bottom border. So let me show you. Full border. Sorry, have to select also the border style. I want a solid border style, because if you don't put what's the style and what's the size, basically if you say even though you want a full border that is solid, but the size is 0, well, it's not going to display, right? So it's a mix of those three. So you say, okay, let's put a 10 to make it easier. So you see, that's a full border. The red comes from this border color. And you can say, hey, I want it to be that gray, right? And then come back over here. And then I can come to advanced. And then let's say I don't want full border. I want only on the bottom, right? So you can have something like that too. So that's why it's a mix of these three options for the border. You can have also dash lines or dotted lines, right? So again, play around. I'm not gonna go through every single detail over there. You're gonna have to figure out like what I'm doing right now. Like, we're not building yet the funnel, but we're learning the elements. So I'm gonna start creating elements, poking around, trying to figure out what all these options allow me to do. Opacity, what allows me to do? Let's take a look. Fade. Oh, you see, it kind of fade a little bit. Half fade or heavy fade, right? That's what it is. I don't want any fades. Typography type, headline font or content font. Well, I guess in this case, because the headline, maybe it's not gonna change. So let's take a look at this small one. Typography headline font. Yeah, it's not gonna change. So let's take a look at another thing. You see, connects to the settings typography font type. So if you have here, right, the settings typography, right? So that's when you say, hey, I want to use two different typographies, right? As a content font, I want to use this typography, let's say. And as a headline font, I want to use this typography. So you'll see over here, now I have kind of like set up. So you don't have to come over here and change the font every time, right? Rather than changing that, I say, hey, I want this to be a headline font or a content font, right? But because I already touched it here, I have to change it, remove it to the default font. So if I want the headline, I choose the headline. If I want the content, I choose the content. You see how it changes? So yeah, everything, again, is just poking around. Let's go a little bit to the advanced options. Over here, the edges, that's only if you have borders. So if I choose something, it's not gonna show you. So let's go to the full border. And it's only gonna be when you have solid borders. And then, oh, there we have different one. Border, radius, edges. Border radius. Okay, so you see, I say, hey, I want a radius of 15 pixels. You see how it radius here? You can have a deeper radius, right? Or you can have a smaller radius. And that affects only on the top, because I say, hey, here I want only on the top. Or if you want only on the bottom, right? Let me put the dramatic one so it's easier to see. Or I want everywhere, right? So you can create multiple things over here. Now, I'm not gonna go through every single thing. I think those are the only ones that you use the most. Now, the other one that you're probably gonna be using is like, okay, I have this one with 2 lines, but I feel that it's too close together. How can I separate? Come here to advanced options. You see the line height. You can come over here and say, hey, I want shorter, or I want more space, or I want automatically, so it looks like that was the best. Now I say automatic is too much, so I can come over here and say, hey, I want 1. That's most of it. For the rest of the options, go and research. Same thing, all those options apply to any of those elements that have text, which implies with font. Now, let's take a look at another element. Let's go down over here. We have media. We have images, images pop-ups, videos, videos pop-up, and audio player. I've never seen anyone using an audio player. Nowadays, everything is going on video. So, unless you want an audio player, you have the option there. I'm going to explain right now only images and video. And these pop-ups, I will show you what it is. So, I'm going to put over here an image. And I'm going to put over here an image pop-up. And I'm going to put over here, sorry, I already created that. I'm going to put a video here. So I'm going to explain first the video. Now the video, you can have a custom kind of embedded video. That's if you have more details there, like in YouTube or anything. But what I like to do is this one. If you already have a video on YouTube, just click YouTube here and you put the URL here. And here you can control a few other things, like for example, hey, you want to autoplay. You can say yes or no. What happens if you don't have your video in YouTube? You can have in Vimeo, in Wistia, or any of these other ones. Most of the cases, you're probably going to use YouTube and Vimeo. Everything depends on where you have. And if it's not in here, probably just put custom embedded, and they probably going to give you the custom code to put it over here, and you just leave it there. So that's one of the things of videos. The other thing on the videos is the themes. So over here you see you have different borders. So let's say, hey, I don't want this one, it's too plain. Let's put a black border, right? So it creates a nice black border there. Now the last one is advanced. And here's the one that I like it. It's called sticky on scroll. So sticky on scroll means that, hey, if you're on the page, you watch the video over here. But what happens if you scroll down and the video is hidden? Well, it basically detaches from there and it puts you on here or below. I don't know if you've seen Facebook. Let's say Facebook, you open a video and you can make it small so you still have access to your Facebook so you can still read it while you have the video on the side. That's basically the sticky one over here. So let me show you. So sticky on scroll I put on, and here it gives me certain details. You want to know like how big you want this video to be. I usually put it small. Where you want to be, top right, top left, bottom right, bottom left. I usually like top left. Here is like a little bit more. Here you want with a black, with drop shadow, or white, or light transparent, or dark transparent. I usually use the first one. You want it to have a close icon? I put it yes. And this one is just a space over there. I don't use that too much. So once you can save here. And you can click preview, and you can preview your changes and everything. And basically you see, I have here the video, and if I'm over here, it's displaying here. But once I kind of hide it down, it blacks out here, and now I have the video over here. So this is the small size. You have an extra small, medium, large. Here's the close button if you don't want it to be there, and it comes back here. That's basically what it is. Image, well, right now it has this demo image that is nothing. And this other one, remember, it was a pop-up image. So you actually can click here and it pops up here. The same with videos. So let's close this one and let's go and add here an element. And you see over here a video pop-up. The same thing. When you click the video, it will kind of pop up out of the page and it will just show you the video. I usually don't use these pop-ups because they look a little bit weird when you are watching everything on mobile, which we will explain later on how to make your page mobile friendly. The next ones that they're over there is the forms. I'm not gonna go too much into the forms until later on when I introduce a little bit more how to receive payments. Here's some advanced forms, billing address. I'm not gonna go on that right now. Here I'm gonna add, you have different countdowns. So the most typical one is the minute timer. You can also have a day timer or a countdown. The minute timer basically is a timer that will start at 30 minutes and will count down. And you can change it. I don't want 30 minutes. I want, let's say, 59 seconds, right? And you can choose over here, once it expires, where you want it to go. You want it to redirect to a URL. You want to show or hide elements. What you want it to do. In this case, I'm not going to do anything right now. And every time that someone visits, you want it to auto reset, to hide, auto expire, so you can have some options there. You can also change the theme. You want it to be red or with these bubbles, right? You want something like that. Then you have other advanced options over here, whatever you want there. Now, after a timer, let's see what else we have here. We have all these contents. I usually don't use much. Over there, you can take a look how you can use it. And then we have some other miscellaneous ones that I'm not gonna go right now into the details. But that's basically everything that you have to get started to organize and change your funnel. We will see you on the next video where I'm gonna go into other details around this page.